Hey there, YouTube. This is CFL Fanatic, and at long last, we are here. The 2011 Grey Cup, the 99th edition, ready to kick off in Vancouver in just a couple of hours as I'm recording this. Very, very exciting. As you'll recall, back on June 30th, 2011, 5 months ago, the BC Lions kicked off their season in Montreal to take on the Alouettes to kick off the 2011 season. And one of those teams is still in the race, and they, this afternoon, or rather tonight, are about to host the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and see if they can win the Grey Cup in front of their home crowd. They did it once before. They were the last team to win in front of their home crowd back in 1994, and we'll see if they can do it again here in 2011 as Winnipeg looks to end a 21-year Grey Cup drought. So before we get on to the picks, we'll talk a little bit about the Gibson's Finest Players Awards that happened on Thursday night. Travis Lulay won Most Outstanding Player of 2011, and I think this is a fantastic decision. Lulay has just had an excellent season. The Lions had their struggles early on. Lulay has really become a leader for this team. Despite the fact that he's only in his third year in the league, he's making plays that make him look like a veteran, makes it look like he's been doing this his entire life. He's really an outstanding player, hence why he is deserving of this achievement. All right, on to Javon Johnson, who was named Outstanding Defensive Player. So yet again, another very big accomplishment for him. Not surprising when you consider the fact that Winnipeg, Javon Johnson had 8 interceptions, a league-leading 8 interceptions. It's been really a good season for him to be part of this outstanding Winnipeg defense this year. And who could forget Paul McCallum, who took home the Special Teams Player of the Year. Once again, no surprises whatsoever, as Paul McCallum has just had a phenomenal season, broke several CFL records in terms of kicking this year. He is 50 for 53 on the year, a record 94.3 completion percentage. His longest one came from 53 this year, so outstanding. All right, but without further ado, let's get right on to it. The 99th Grey Cup ready to kick off between the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the BC Lions. So the question is, where do we start? All right. Let's take a look first by matching up, discussing a little bit about Winnipeg's offense. This has been an area where Winnipeg has had their struggles this year. Buck Pierce, once again, missed a couple games due to some injuries, and we hope that he can stay healthy for tonight's game because the Bombers really need him. Buck Pierce's stats, 3,348 passing yards, coupled with 324 rushing yards, so he's done a pretty good job on the ground. 261 out of 411 for 63.5% completion rate. 14 passing touchdowns, but that's balanced out with 18 INTs, so that's something we have to look for. Terrence Edwards leads the Bombers in terms of receiving yards. He is 7th in the league at 1,124. Clarence Denmark and Corey Watson also up there in the ranks, so look for them to make some big plays. Rushing yards, they'll be relying on Chris Garrett, who's had 576 rushing yards coming in partway through the season to replace the injured Fred Reed. Let's not forget last week against Hamilton, 190 yards and a touchdown in the Eastern Final. BC's defense will have their hands full with them, but luckily they got some good players. Solomon Elamimian, 2nd in the league in terms of tackles at 98. Anton McKenzie also a factor. He's 79 tackles. In terms of INTs, not too much for the BC Lions. Ryan Phillips and Dante Marsh both have 4 INTs. They're tied for 10th in the league overall. But the BC D-line, 53 sacks on the year. They are 2nd place behind only the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Caron Williams had 11 sacks and Aaron Hunt with 7 sacks. So quite a bit there. All right, but the big matchup that everybody really wants to see, I think, is this dynamic BC offense taking on the Winnipeg defense. Lulay is 4,815 passing yards, 391 rushing yards, 58.7 completion percentage, 32 passing touchdowns versus 11 INTs. Receiving, Geroy Simon, Sean Gore, Arlan Bruce, all big factors. Andrew Harris in the rushing game. On special teams, Paul McCallum will definitely be a big factor. But in terms of the Winnipeg defense, Javon Johnson Johnson, 8 INTs. Jonathan Hefney at 6. Great. The D-line, 55 sacks for Winnipeg. Odell Willis leads the league at 13. Kenny Maynor right behind him at 8. So, who's going to win is the big question. You know, this could come down to numbers, and if it does come down to numbers, Winnipeg is definitely the underdog. But Winnipeg has been dominant. Their defense has really destroyed. And let's not forget that partway through the season, Winnipeg lost their head coach, or their assistant coach, Richard Harris. They want to make one for him. So this is not a by-the-numbers game, and I think I'm going to have to take the underdogs and go with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to win the 99th Grey Cup. So that is my Grey Cup pick in case you missed it, and I will try after the game is done. I usually post a video afterwards, a little sum up of the game. So I'll try and do that for this Grey Cup. So in a couple hours, just sit down, get some dinner, and then enjoy 3 hours of football. I'll see you tonight.